Welcome to the Leaderish Podcast with your hosts, Regina and Doris. Hey, Doris, how's it going?
Hi, Regina. It is going very well. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's been a good week, and I'm excited to be back to be talking about some very, very cool stuff today. What are we talking about, Doris?
We are going to talk about business planning. Tis the season for business planning, right?
Oh, I love it. Yeah, we've got a new year coming up, and even if you're not listening in the new year, there is always an appropriate time to step back and plan at any given point. So I love that we are talking about this today. Where should we get started with our conversation?
Well, first of all, I want to agree with you on getting started at any time. If you're listening to this the second quarter of 2025, the third quarter, it really doesn't matter. It's kind of like New Year's resolutions. You don't need to start New Year's resolutions on New Year's Day. You need to start your resolutions on whatever day you think you're going to make that forward progress. And the same thing can apply for business planning. But since we're talking about it in December, before the beginning of the year, we are going to talk about how to have a successful 2025 and beyond, how to get yourself ready to start thinking about what you need to do differently in 2025 to ensure that you have a very successful year, and really even thinking forward to 3 to 5 years into the future, but using 2025 as a benchmark to make sure that you are successful 3, 5 years and beyond.
Oh, I love that. So, we're not going to only talk about planning for next year, but we're also going to talk about the future 3 to 5 years in advance so that we can
Hmm.
make sure that we're on track for this year for where we want to be in the next 3 to 5 years.
Absolutely. In fact, I'll give you my little elevator pitch when I go to networking events. And this applies to business owners, but really it can apply to business leaders. It can apply to people that are managing a household. It really doesn't matter who you are, but think about where you want to be 3 to 5 years from now. The exercise that I do is close your eyes and whatever today's date is, add 5 years to that. So it's not December of 2025, it's December of 2027 or 2029. And imagine what your life is like today. Imagine what your business is like today. How many employees do you have? What is the revenue that you've built? Or if you're a leader in a team, what does that team look like? Or what is your title? Maybe you've gotten a promotion. Where did you go on vacation this year? Think about all those things, or personal. Maybe you were married. Maybe you had kids. Maybe your kids went to college. What does your life look like? All right, now how can we start moving forward using the planning that we're going to use in 2025? Backtrack that to quarterly. And then what are you going to do on Monday to get started? So thinking about it,
Oh.
yeah. So thinking about it annually, quarterly, weekly, and even daily.
I love that. I love that thought of working backwards. Where do you want to be?
Mm-hmm.
And then figure out, okay, now what do I need to get done this year in order to be there? And then what do I need to get done each quarter to get there? What do I need to get done each week to get there? And then what do I need to get done each day to get
Mm-hmm.
there?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. I like the structure.
If you are familiar with the book Traction or the system called EOS or Entrepreneurial Operating System, there is an entire procedure on doing that, on looking at it, especially that 90-day. There's a book even called The 90-Day Work Year that you look at everything from a 90-day perspective, because that's a smaller chunk of time that you can wrap your arms around. What can I do in the next 3 months? Now, those 3 months still have to get you to where you want to be at the end of the year, but chunking it down into four more manageable quarters. And then those quarters obviously have about 12 weeks in them. And so those 12 weeks, if you start every Monday or even Sunday night thinking about what do I need to do this next coming week in order to be successful and to achieve what I set out to do for this quarter.
Yeah, it just makes it so much more manageable than just
Hmm.
creating goals, putting them on a post-it note like I have, and hoping that they happen.
Well, if you take what you wrote on the post-it notes and put it into some kind of a planning procedure, that may still work. But a lot of times, what I found is that people are pretty good at writing tactical things. They know, maybe they even know what they want to do on a Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, but they don't necessarily think about it strategically. What I do when I work with my clients, whether they're business owners or they're leaders, thinking about from the top end and the bottom end. And what I mean by that is we start with your vision, values, your mission. Your vision and your values are really who you want to be. Or if you're a business owner, what is your business about? When you're putting together a plan, you want to think about your vision, your mission, your values. So that's the why part of the plan that you're creating. That's the thinking out 3 to 5 years. What is it going to look like? Then you want to put together the objectives. The what is it that you're going to do? I'm going to build my revenue from X to Y, or I'm going to hire additional employees. I'm going to go from 3 to 5 employees. So that's the what. Then the how, you have two levels of how. The how, the strategy. So it's a high level how. And then the tactical, which is the what are you going to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? So the strategy is more of that 90-day. What do you need to do in 90 days to get to your 12-month goal? And then break it down into the very tactical or action plans that you do on a week to week basis to get there.
Well, that makes sense. I love this kind of this why and how strategy,
Mhm.
and then taking it down even to those tactical measures that you can do and measure and hold yourself accountable for. A lot of people call them KPIs. So getting down to
Mhm.
those key performance indicators to make
Yes.
sure that you have the tactical work, whether that is building your business or building your team. One of those tactical pieces for building a team could be meet with every team member once a week in a one-on-one and coach them.
Yes.
Or it could be a revenue goal if you are in business for yourself. I love that.
Hmm. But also knowing that ties back up to the what. If I'm going to meet with a team member every week, what is the purpose of meeting with those team members? Is it to get them to work harder, or get them to work smarter, or is it to have them grow to their next position? So,
Hmm.
really understanding why you are meeting with them to tie back to the what and the how.
Yeah. And then stay focused on that so that
Hmm.
you can get what you need and what they need out of that time together based on the goals that you've set. And you do need, if you're working for an organization, you need to also take into consideration the organization's goals. There may be a goal that is for you to complete a project this
Hmm.
year. And so part of your vision, mission, and values may be wrapped around that organizational goal if you are leading a team or working in a team environment.
Yeah, you've got to have both. You've got to have the organization's goals as part of that, but those personal goals too. So, a lot of corporations encourage you to have personal development goals. And those are going to be very different from every person in the organization. Someone that's just coming into the organization, that goal may simply be to understand the organization and how they fit into the organization. Someone with a little bit more experience, it may be educational, or it may be they want to move from manager to director or to director to vice president. I used to do an exercise, I called it Learning to Thrive. And it was also about 3 to 5 years out, but creating the job that you wanted. So wherever you are today, where do you want to be in 5 years from a career move? And then again, working backwards, what is missing to get you to the place where you want to be? So if you are an entry level person today and you want to be a director, really understand what is it that's missing. It might be certifications, it might be education, but it might be experience or projects, leading a project. Could be a good example of something that someone needs to do that's missing for them to be able to move up to that next level, that manager level, then director level, AVP, VP, and moving up. But being really clear on what are the gaps that need to be filled in order for you to be ready for that next role.
It reminds me a lot of the episode that we did on when was the last time time stopped or stood still. I think it was episode 10 of season 3 that we did that episode, and we talked about the reverse resume and figuring
Yes.
out where you wanted to be. It very much aligns and kind of pulls through that. So now what you're doing is you're taking what you learned in episode 10 and you're applying it here when you are doing your strategic planning.
Yes, I love that. And going back to that reverse resume, that working backwards, figuring out where do you want to be and write it in a way that shows very clearly what accomplishments you need to have in order to have that job, in order to be qualified for that next role.
Hmm. Yeah, there's a tool that we both received not too long ago. We were at a conference together for an organization called Women Connect, which is a semi local organization here in Nashville for women. And we were gifted a beautiful planner. It's called the Dream Big 2025 planner, but I'm sure they redo it every year. And even if it's middle of the year, you can still use this because it's awesome. And it's created by the passionate penny pincher. And it is absolutely beautiful. And so I was hoping today we could walk through some of this and talk about how we can leverage this planner for our strategic planning. What do you think about that?
I love that idea. Yeah, as soon as I received it, I opened it up. I was already excited about 2025 because of all of the nuggets that are in this planner that really help you think strategically as you're planning what do you want to do next as an individual and as a leader or as a business owner. And some of the sections in there are weekly priorities and how setting weekly priorities can help you stay focused. So it breaks it down Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. What do you need to do every week? Things to look forward to. The importance of creating positive anticipation and momentum are some things.
Mhm. Yeah, what I love about this, and I'm flipping through it again as we talk, if you hear the pages, the paper, by the way, is super smooth and you just want to write in it and get started. But I love how this planner itself starts off with your intentions and dreams. And I feel like that aligns so well with the vision and the mission and the values that you
Mm-hmm.
spoke of. What are your big dreams? And thinking ahead 5 years, not just 1 month, but what is it that you are looking forward to? What do you see in your future? And it asks a question in here, and I really like this. It says, what was simply fun for you as you look back over the last year, either personally or professionally? And I love how this question gets you in the mindset of saying, I want more of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it does go through your mission and your vision, and it really helps you to set those. And it even has a full section for values. Now, we did a values episode, which was episode 3 of season 3. And that was a really helpful
Mm-hmm.
episode for me to come back to my values. It's this whole year, all of our episodes that we've done have culminated into this moment and
Mm-hmm.
leveraging this guide to think through your future. And then it has one other section in here that's around your purpose, which kind of goes a little bit back to that mission. But I love this question. It says, what are you especially gifted in that serves those around you each day?
That's beautiful.
We don't think about that enough,
No,
do
we don't.
we?
We don't
And
think about that enough.
and what if you were designing your year or your next 5 years around your purpose instead of the needs of everyone
Mm-hmm.
else?
And if you can blend that back with the when the last time time stood still,
Yes.
and thinking about that even as you reflect on 2024. So the last time time stood still for you this year, where you used your gifts to help someone else and time stood still for both of you, perhaps for you and the other person that you were helping. That is a great way to see what your gifts are, what made a
Mm-hmm.
difference and an impact not only for you, but the person that you were helping.
I love that. It also takes me into the what not to do. And this planner actually lays that out. It's got a great journaling page on what to do and what not to do. And what I love about this is that if you are living out your purpose, you know what to do. But oftentimes we forget what not to do, what doesn't feed us, what doesn't drive us. Now, we all know that in everyday life, there is a little bit of that. We all have to do a little bit of what we don't want to do. But if you can focus on what you do want to do and what drives you and what helps bring your purpose to life, then you are getting more out of your work, more out of your team, more out of your peers and folks around you that will help grow them and yourself.
It goes back to intentionality, being
Yes,
intentional
of
about
course.
what it is that you're doing. So sometimes there are things you don't want to do and you have to, but quite often there are things that are just time wasters. What are some things that we can take out of our day that are time wasters or that we can delegate to someone else? How many of us struggle with delegation? I know that was something that I struggled with most of my career. Someone once called me a soloist because I tried to do everything by myself,
Yes.
and I had to learn how to delegate. Now I'm a business owner. I don't really have anyone to delegate to, but there are still some options I can use. I could hire a virtual assistant. I could stop doing some of those things. I could use AI for certain things or technology for other things to try to get rid of those time wasters, or in some cases, just stop doing them.
I was listening to a podcast episode this weekend. One of them was about you think you don't have time, but how often do you waste just 5 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe scrolling on Instagram, and then you get into the negative self talk because you're comparing your life to someone's highlight reel, which is so not fair. Or I have a very bad habit. I play this game regularly. It's like a seek and find game. It requires like zero brain effort for me. And it's like my zone out thing that I do on my phone. And sometimes I'll find myself wasting 20 or 30 minutes. And if you can pinpoint those bad habits or those time wasters and either eliminate or reduce them, think about how much time you could get back.
Mm-hmm. Some of those time wasters, it's that relaxation. Some of it you need.
That's not a waste. If it's a relaxation exercise, it's not a waste.
I agree. So, is that game that you play, are you relaxed when you play it, or do you feel it's a time waster?
No, I feel like it's a time waster for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and doom scrolling is obviously a time
Mm-hmm.
waster too. What's not a time waster for me is watching videos of people create different stitches in crochet because I love to crochet. That for me, spending 5 minutes or 10 minutes doing that and watching those videos is relaxing to me. And it's purpose driven because the crochet is what really helps me relax. But by
Mm-hmm.
playing the game, I'm actually getting nothing out of it.
I found that some of those games that I was getting nothing out of, I had to remove those from my phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
that and that's sometimes the solution is as much as you. So there's a part of your brain that enjoys playing those mindless games, but when you feel guilty after you spend 20 minutes, that's the thing. 5 minutes, okay. 20, 30, 45 minutes, all of a sudden you realize you just wasted all this time. But and I like cooking videos. So I love cooking and baking. I watch them to say, what am I going to make for dinner? This one looks
Hmm.
good. Let's save the recipe and go buy the ingredients. So those are
Yeah.
not time wasters. I
That's
agree.
right. And those are time savers. And so, what I love about this planner is that there is actually a section that says habits I need to let go. And my game is on there.
Mm-hmm.
I will let go of it because it does not serve me. I will not let go of the Instagram and Facebook videos that teach me how to crochet a new crochet stitch.
I agree. I wouldn't let go of that one either.
Yeah.
Another thing that I love on this planner, if you go to the weekly pages,
Mm-hmm.
you have three priorities. I love that it's limited to three. because you can't prioritize 10 things. Three is the perfect number. What
Yes.
three things are you going to prioritize this week?
Yep.
And one thing that you're looking forward to. So hopefully there's always something you can look forward to. Someone I can encourage. I really like that piece. So
Mm-hmm.
be very intentional about finding a person you can encourage. And then something I'd like to read or listen to. I had set out in 2024 to read 12 business books. I think I read maybe six. And that same goal is going to apply to 2025, reading 12 business books. But this time I want to be more intentional and have the
Okay.
names of the books, not just this arbitrary number of 12, but have 12 books. What am I going to read in January, February, March? Be very specific about what it is that I
Yeah.
want to read.
Oh, well, I have something for you. Mackenzie today put out their best business books list, and
Ooh,
I'll
I'll have
share that
to,
with you.
yes, please
And
share
I'll
that
see
with me.
if I can find a link for it on the internet and not just in email. I will also drop that in the show notes in case anyone else is interested in sharing of Doris's goal of 12 business books this year. Love it.
Yes. And then on the monthly reviews, what was your biggest win this month? So, another thing I think is really important, two habits that we all need to add is gratitude and celebration, which are very
Hmm.
different. Gratitude is something that you're thankful for, but celebrations, no matter how small, we all need to celebrate, have daily celebrations. What did you do yesterday to celebrate yourself? What are your biggest wins this month? What do you wish that you had done differently in the last few weeks? That can help maybe build your priorities for the following month, the following weeks.
Yep.
Some things that were fun. What change did you make that you may want to continue? What did you manage well? What's your biggest goal for the upcoming month? And what are you looking forward to in the next few weeks? So, every one of those questions I think are fabulous.
One of the things that I am really bad about, it is celebrating and reflecting back. Now, I do it in little bits, I think, but I don't do it in quite the process that they have laid out here, where you take notes and you think through and you do it with intentionality. And I
Mm-hmm.
love this idea because it helps us with continuous improvement. It helps us get a little bit better each month. And it helps us reflect on what worked and what didn't work, which oftentimes we keep trying to do the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result.
I think that's the
And
definition of insanity.
boom, you nailed it. And sometimes I do feel like I'm insane because I keep doing the same thing over, thinking, okay, maybe now it will work. And this really helps you see what works and what doesn't work. And it gives you that time and space to do just that. So
Mm-hmm.
I love that monthly review and that every month you're doing a little review. It doesn't take long. It's simple, it's easy, maybe 10 minutes, but it's enough to get you really reflecting back on what you accomplished and what changes you can make.
Absolutely. Love that. I also want to share something I heard on a podcast since we're talking about vision. Have you ever done a vision board?
I have. Yes, and I used to actually walk groups through doing vision boards. It's been quite some time, but I've done some workshops with women where we've walked through creating vision boards together and for our own personal, but sharing
Mm-hmm.
those and talking through that and really breathing life into that future.
I love that. One of the things I hadn't thought about on the vision board, and this is, like I said, this is something I heard on a podcast. There are two types of vision boards. The vision boards where you sit with a magazine or something and you cut out pictures and it creates your vision board. But there are also vision boards of emotions or feelings. How do you want to feel at the end of the year? And I had never thought about a vision board in terms of emotions and feelings. I'd thought about it more in terms of more tangible types of things. And I will share that my vision board for 2024 included starting a podcast. I think I was
And
successful
here
at that one.
you
Here I
are.
am, co hosting a podcast with my bestie, Regina.
Love it. I love this idea of emotions, and a lot of times vision boards use images that were either pulled from the internet or pictures that you have or pictures that you find in a magazine or whatever. And tying an emotion to those and labeling it is also very important. So if you want to feel more joy and you have a picture of a very excited, happy woman or man, and you put the word joy under it just to remind you that is an emotion you want tied to this year is joy. And I say
Hmm.
that as I know you guys can't see, but I have a small block that's behind me and it just has the word joy on it. And a leader gave that to me, I think for Christmas one year, or maybe she just sent it as a gift. She used to do that stuff all the time. And I leave it there right behind me where I can always see it when we're recording or whatever to remind myself of the joy. Even though I don't have a vision board in front of me at all moments, I do have that key emotion of joy always in the background of what I do. So you don't have to do something like that, but it worked for me and it reminded me to find more joy in life. And I feel like every year I get a little bit more joy because I remain focused on it. And the same thing with your vision board. However, you do that, find the emotion that you want to take into the new year and carry with you.
I think maybe we can even combine the two types of vision boards because if you add something like joy to the more tangible item that you have on your vision board, you have the why. So, for
Ah,
example, let's use the podcast.
yep.
That was an idea that I wanted, and I'm not even sure I knew the why behind it. It probably at the beginning of January of 2024, it was just, well, I just need to have a podcast. It's something that I need to check off the list. But if I put it on the vision board and I really have the why behind it, because I want to help other people. I don't want to do this just because I'm checking something off of a list. I want to do it to help other people, but it's really about what is the message we're trying to convey during our podcast. And I know, Regina, you and we are in sync on this, that we want to do this to help other people, specifically leaders. That's why it's called Leaderish, leadership lessons straight up. And we're trying to help leaders, whether they're business owners or leaders of teams or leaders of self. We're trying to help them and give them ideas and tips and tricks to be better leaders. And so that's the emotion, that's the why that I would tie with that thing that was on my vision board last year. The why is to help other people.
That's right, which is one of your core values.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it all ties together.
Yes.
I mean, it's a whole season of episodes that are just all tying together in this one episode. It's absolutely beautiful. I'd love to tell you about a few of my key learnings and a few things that I want to take away from our conversation today, which was really impactful for me. Is that okay?
I would love that.
I think the first thing is having the vision, mission, and values that are very personal to me. I have goals. What I didn't do, Doris, and what you helped me realize is that I didn't tie my goals back to the what and the how. So I just have big goals. Now so I have like the middle part. I don't have the top part. I don't have the vision and the mission and the values. I do have my goals. But what I'm also missing is that bottom part, which are the actions that I'm going to take. And I love leveraging this planner to get all of that together so that I am ready for a great new year.
I love that.
Thanks. Thanks. Anything else that you would want to add?
I want to add that I need to do all of this myself. I'm really good at coaching other people on their business plans. And I have a tendency to then let mine go to the side and not work on it. So I have started working on my 2025 plans. I've started working on my vision, my mission, my values. I think I already had a little bit of that going,
Mm-hmm.
but getting a lot more specific on what I'm going to do every single week. So setting my own annual goals, quarterly. If you listen to the or you read the book Traction, they talk about rocks, quarterly rocks, and those are the big things,
Yeah.
the big rocks, because the big rocks will wind up helping you get to your annual goals, and then tying that back to what am I going to do every single week and focusing more on the actions than even the results. Because if I know that these actions are going to drive results, I don't need to worry about the results. The results will happen. It's the actions that will get me there. But understanding what I need to do, what are those objectives? What is the what,
Yeah.
as well as the how?
Oh, and you reminded me of one more thing that I loved about this episode is that every month looking back and doing a review on what you did so that if you need to change, you can. You can make those changes timely
Mm-hmm.
instead of making them, a year down the road where, you've wasted a whole year trying something that didn't work. So I love that. And thank you for allowing me to add one more thing.
Well, I'm going to add one more thing too. And I realized I had it in my notes, and it's might even be the most important thing
Oh,
is
no.
having an accountability partner. Don't do this by yourself. Whether you hire a coach or you use your manager or your VP or your mentor, you need an accountability partner. Just writing it down on your own, there's a good chance it'll wind up sitting on a bookshelf collecting dust. And you'll dust it off in June and think, wow, I'm way behind. Oh, well, forget this year. Have an accountability partner starting from the beginning. January 1, make sure that you have someone that you're working with that you can hold yourself accountable. It can't just be a planner, it has to be another person that holds you accountable because that is going to be the key to your success and achieving your goals for 2025.
I love that, Doris. And I love that you are an accountability partner for me. And the great news is that our listeners can also work with you as well. So if you are interested in working with Doris, you can reach out to her at Doris at Dunwise. That's two N's, Dunn, Dunwise.com. And you and Doris can set up some time to chat and talk to see if Doris might be a great accountability partner for you and to help you with your strategic planning and work through your goals and get moving in the right direction for your next year. Another quick thing is that if you are interested in the Passionate Penny Pincher work planner that Doris and I both leverage, there is a link in the show notes as well. And I'll try to put a link for the McKinsey books in the show notes. So these show notes are going to be packed with resources for you. So check out those show notes because you'll find lots of great stuff in there. All right, I'm going to get us wrapped up. That is about it for today. We would love to talk to you. All of our links again in the show notes. You got everything there. And we would love a review. So, reviews are what keeps our podcast growing. And if you are a loyal listener and you haven't reviewed us in a while, or you haven't ever had an opportunity to click the review button on wherever you get your podcasts, please do. We would love a 5-star review from you. We would be forever grateful to receive one of those. And if you found today's episode helpful, share it with a friend. Just click that share button in your podcast app and send it as a text message to a friend. It'll take them directly to this episode and they'll be able to listen along with you. And maybe that could be your accountability partner because now you're both in a similar place. So, last thing, if you are interested in being a guest on the Leaderish podcast, you have an engaging topic, send us an email. That email address is leaderishpodcast@gmail.com. And we'll get back to you as soon as we can and have a quick chat to see if you'd be a great fit. We love having guests. All right, Doris, I got my hot green tea. So cheers.
Cheers.